Okay, I am going to call this meeting to order. Everyone can please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. And a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States
of America,
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice. Thank you. Okay. Let's see. All right, sorry, I'm going to get back to the top of my agenda. We have no proclamations or presentations today. That gets us to public petition. Oh, this is going to be a good one already. Public petitions, communications, and public participation on any subject within the jurisdiction of the town council with a 2-minute limit. Holy moly. If anybody has anything they would like to say, please raise your hand, your little blue hand, and I will call on you. If you're on the phone, *9, and that will raise your hand. When I call on you, please state your name and address for the record. Okay, not seeing anybody. We're going to go on to, oh, sorry, Deb Getz.
Hi, Deb Getz, 176 Kate Lane, speaking as a private resident, not as an elected official. I'd like to know what the plans are for reopening meetings. I've noticed a couple towns have started having some meetings of varying sorts. Some are just the members. Some are limited to 25 participants total. I'm just wondering when it will be determined when we can go back to meetings. I'm not pushing it for sure. I want it to be safe for everyone, but I'm just wondering when that will happen. Thank you.
Thank you, Deb. Anybody else? Okay, I don't see anybody. We have been talking about going back, what we're doing to try to be able to go back to meetings. So I'm not sure if Mike is ready to kind of give us any kind of update on that, but we are looking at options. So we'll get that on an agenda coming up so we can review it, so we can discuss it more widely. But know that I know Town Hall is definitely looking at options to get us back into chambers. I'm sorry, I don't have anything more definitive to give anybody right now. That gets us to public hearing items 6.1, consideration of a resolution to update Statute A 176-15 of the Town Code, Town Green and Fire Training Center sign policy. This is going to be a good one tonight, guys. I'm really struggling here. Okay. Mike.
Sure. Yep. So good evening, everybody. Mike Rosen, Town Manager. Just for the record, I got a text message. I can't respond to it at the moment, but Councilman Luba is looking to join the meeting. He just needs the login for the phone number, please. If somebody can send that to him, he's going to be dialing in. So, okay.
I'll send it to him now.
Okay. Thank you. So tonight we have the public hearing for A 176-15, which is the current town code for Town Green and Fire Training Center sign policy. This is a policy that actually dates back, I believe, to the year 2001 originally. So it's about 20 years since we've updated it. The current policy, which has been in effect for, like I said, about 20 years, has some sort of anachronisms in it. It's older, it's outdated. We need to bring it up to kind of reflect the current, what the layout of our buildings are. Right now, what its purpose is to provide a place for the town and not-for-profit organizations in the town to announce events of interest to the town residents. What the council has been going through over the past couple of meetings was to update the policy to open it up a bit, to allow for not just events, but also for recognitions that could happen, whether it's a day, week, or month recognition, so that a sign could go up on the Tolland Green that would be in honor of that recognition. There was discussion about where such a list would be that we could pull recognitions from, and it was decided at the last meeting to include the presidential proclamation list, which changes from time to time. The current version of it is in the packet tonight, but again, that could change from time to time, to be the sort of with the acceptable recognitions for for these type of events or recognitions. The other major change I wanted to point out is that whereas back in maybe the early 2000s, public signs were allowed to be put up over where the fire training center is, that intersection has changed over time physically, so that there really isn't room anymore to put signs out there for public events. So that we've talked about removing that portion and any reference to the fire training center from this policy. So those are the major changes. They're redlined in the packet. There's also a clean version that goes next to it that you can see what the full policy looks like side by side. Certainly, if there's any questions, we stand ready. I know the chief is here as well, but really that's the only change would be for the taking out the fire training center. But yeah, that's, we also added in some language too about what happens if there's a conflict between an event sign and a recognition sign, which one trumps the other. So we talked about how the event signs would be, because they're shorter term, they would go up rather than recognition signs if there's a discrepancy. So that's really the only preamble I have for tonight.
Okay, is there anything we want to discuss before we open up this public meeting? Is there anything anybody has that they want to discuss for consideration? Okay, with that in mind, then I will entertain a motion to open the public hearing.
This is Brenda Falusi, so moved.
This is Kirk Schneider. I'll second that motion.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Brenda?
Aye.
Cassandra? I don't see her. I'll have to come back to her. John?
Aye.
Lou?
Aye.
Kurt?
Aye.
Cassandra, are you back? Mike, in this case, what do we do?
Generally, the town clerk has advised us that we do need a vote on the record. So what we'll note tonight for the record, Lisa, is that Cassandra has stepped away at 7:07. Oh, nope, she's back. Never mind.
Oh.
Strike that.
Okay, Cassandra, we're opening the public
The
hearing.
bathroom, I'm sorry.
It's okay. We're opening the public hearing. You agree?
Yes, sorry.
Okay. All right, and I am an aye, so that is unanimous. With that, we'll open up the public hearing. If you would like to participate publicly for this hearing, please raise your hand via the blue hand raising button on your device, or if you're on the phone, it's *9. After I call on you, please state your name and address. And I will go through the people as they raise their hands. So if anybody has anything that they would like to add or discuss for this policy, please raise your hand. Right, I'm not seeing anything. With that, I will entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
This is Brenda Falusi, so moved.
This is Kirk Schneider. I'll second that.
Any discussion? All those in favor, Brenda,
Aye.
Cassandra,
Aye.
John,
Aye.
Lou,
Aye.
Kurt,
Aye.
I'm an aye. So we are now closing the public hearing. All right, then it gets back to us. Is there anything anybody wants to discuss before I entertain a motion to move this to action? Brenda.
Yes, Brenda Falusi. I'm very happy that we're moving forward with the recognitions. I am a little disappointed that we are restricting them to presidential proclamations, because it's been noted that, or it's been said that this list was pretty long, but it is nowhere near exhaustive of being representative of the residents that live in Tolland. There's many things that I believe our residents would like to recognize and see. see a sign for on the town green or to be able to have the opportunity to, and they won't. For example, this week is Suicide Prevention Week, with Thursday being Suicide Prevention Day. This is something that's really important to many, many people in Tolland, and there's not the opportunity to be able to recognize that here. And that's just one small example. There's also, it's limited by nationalities, it's limited by religious affiliations. So I will support this, but I do have to say that I'm hoping that we're going to continue to move forward and find a way to be able to be representative of the entire Tolland community. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? I don't see anything from anybody. I'm looking through the list. Everything looks good. Oh,
Tons of money.
what was that, Lou?
Actually, I don't even know if that's.
No, I'm all good. Thank you. Sorry. I
Oh,
just
okay.
unmuted myself.
You just popped up. I was like, okay, all right. Okay, with that, I will accept a motion. Or does somebody want to read the motion, or do you want me to read it? Let's see, I'm getting to the page.
It's a short motion.
I will accept a motion that the following resolution is being introduced and said, nope, not that one. Where's the next one? Nope,
Just under the be it resolved part.
okay.
Do you want me to read it? I have it.
Yeah, Brenda, do you have that up?
Sure, yes.
Okay.
Be it resolved by the town, or by the Tolland Town Council, that it hereby approves the amendment to the attached town green and fire training center sign policy in chapter A176-15 of the town code, originally adopted on January 23rd, 2001.
Do I have a second?
No, Kirkshire, I'll second that.
Okay, any discussion? All those in favor, Brenda,
Aye.
Cassandra? Aye. John,
Aye.
Lou,
They had no sizes.
Aye.
Kurt?
Aye.
And I am an aye, so that passes unanimously. All right, that gets us up to 6.2, which is consideration of a resolution to rescind the issuance of bonds approved by resolution on July 9th, 2019 for a fire rescue truck, and an approval to provide $750,000 from the general fund unassigned fund balance for the financing of the fire rescue truck. Okay, is there anything we want to discuss prior to going to public hearing on this?
This is Mike Rosen, town manager. I just wanted to recognize that besides me tonight, we have Lisa Hancock, our finance director, Barry Bernabe, who's our financial consultant, Chief Lytell, many members of the Tolland Fire Department are here, as well as many other Tolland Fire Inc. is here, and friends of Tolland Fire. So you have a lot of people in the room who are very interested in this subject matter. I just wanted to recognize everybody.
Thank you all for coming. I noticed as you were all coming in, we've got the fire department contingency well represented here tonight. Barry, I'm not sure, did Barry drop off? No, he's here. He's
here.
Sorry, don't know how, he disappeared from my screen there for a second. Okay, is there, I want to make sure I get his name right, B-A-R-N-A-B-E.
Bernabe.
Yep. All right, is there anything we want to talk about before we open up to public hearing?
The only preamble I have, everybody, Mike Rosen, town manager, is that I think this issue has been discussed a few times now in public, and stemming back to the original fiscal year 1920 budget. So this before my time and before this council's time as this current composition of the council. The chief will tell you that this has been many years in the making, since about 2012, maybe something like that. And so we're here tonight fully to discuss and support whatever we need to talk about the truck. But I think what's not really up for a debate, unless you'd like to, but the merits of the truck itself, I don't believe are an issue here. I think the town needs this truck at this time. The chief will have, if you require it, many examples of that and how much maintenance it's incurred over the years. And the time is now for the truck. We just look to you as the policymakers of the town. How do you want it funded?
Thank you for that, Mr. Rosen. With that, I will accept a motion to open the public hearing.
This is Brenda Falusi, so moved.
This is Kurt John. I'll second that motion.
Okay, any discussion? All those in favor? Brenda,
Aye.
Cassandra,
Aye.
John,
Aye.
Lou,
Aye.
Kurt?
Aye.
I'm an aye. So with that, we have the public hearing now open. If you would like to participate in the public hearing and you are on a device, please raise your blue hand. And if you are on the phone, it is *9. After that, I will call on you. Please state your name and your address for the record. Katie.
Katie Murray, 8 Lisa Lane. I am testifying at this point as a private citizen and not in any of my volunteer roles with town. I think that this fire truck is long overdue, and the delay in allowing the chief and the fire department to purchase it is incredibly unfortunate. I think, as Town Manager Rosen mentioned, there has been no recent concerns about the validity of needing a fire truck. Everyone seems to be on the same page on that. However, this issue was first voted on, I believe, it was voted on by the previous town council in July of 2019. It is now September of 2020. From what I understand, the money, the bonding money has been sitting in a fund available and ready for the chief to purchase this item, and this council has held up the purchase of this fire truck. I think it would be wonderful to know exactly how long the funding has been available for the chief to use to purchase the fire truck. And so that we can all put that into perspective. The previous council was well advised by Town Manager Warbner as to the funding of this truck. The council had a public hearing, listened to public comment, and I believe the vote was unanimous to fund this truck out of bonding, and then the bonding went forward and is now available for the chief to use to buy the truck. But due to actions of this council, you guys have decided as the policymakers of this town to hold that up. And I wish to express my discontent and extreme disappointment. We hope to not have to use fire trucks, but we all know that they are needed in emergency situations. And it is very unfortunate that you, as the policymakers for this town, as Town Manager Rosen qualified you, have decided to hold this up. And I just want to express that that is very disappointing. And I would ask you to consider how long this money has been sitting here waiting for the chief to use, and you've decided to just push pause on it. I think that's unfortunate. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Liz? Liz Costa? Liz must be having difficulty. We'll go to Deb for now.
Deb Getz, 176 Kate Lane, speaking as a private resident and not in my elected capacity. I must have been watching different meetings last year, because the meetings I went to, I asked specifically at the June meeting whether the unanticipated revenue that the town was receiving and the anticipated unexpended funds would be available to pay for this fire rescue truck. At the time, I was told that would be considered. At the public hearing, it was made clear, you can read the minutes, everyone should read the minutes. It was made clear at that time that the town would later Town council and town manager would later evaluate how much money was available from those funds from 1819 after the audit was completed. Unfortunately, COVID happened. You've had a shortage of meetings at times, and you're now addressing it. My understanding was that the bonding was approved so that the chief could go ahead and do his specs, get his estimates, and that it is not holding up obtaining the rescue truck. Things are different now, so I know you have to look at this with fresh eyes and see what the best way is to go forward, whether to pay cash from your fund or whether to bond it as was previously approved. Do you have a figure on how much was left at the end of 1819, considering the unanticipated revenue and the unexpended funds? Thank you.
Thank you, Deb. Is there anybody else? Okay, not seeing anybody else. I will accept a motion to close the public hearing.
The chief has his hand up, I think.
Is that you raising your hand?
Yeah, sorry, Tammy. Obviously, it's been a long weekend. So if I can just speak, obviously, as the fire chief and director of public safety. So obviously, the COVID has hit us hard, and obviously since July. But like I stated, that we started this committee way back when. We've been through several different committees. It's been hard for myself to try to get committees formed again, as well as look other municipal towns to try to purchase trucks together. Obviously, I've been totally gridlocked since the COVID has hit me. We've made some progress over the last couple months, but I can't reassure you that if the COVID pops back up, or even as still right now, we're not even having department meetings or anything else. It's been very hard for me to get people together to look at specs or get even people down to look at different apparatus. We are looking, like I stated, I think the last few months, that we've been waiting for a few towns to get back to us as far as if we can purchase together with another community. I am in talk with another state right now. But like I said, things have been back and forth, and I don't want to put blame to anybody. And I'm the first that will state that I'll take the blame for it, because I will not spend town money or spend something out without a purchase order or an account to say, here's your account, here you go out to bid or go ask for a bid waiver. I am probably one of the department heads in town that try to seek a lot of bid waivers, because we can save money and we can do business with other communities and other people. So I try to save the biggest buck for the town that I can. But like I stated, that this project has been going on since 2012, way before the town manager here. And obviously the town manager, Werbner, was very successful, but the project has been put off for several years. And then obviously with the new council coming in, it was held as far as different bonding and different projects that we were going to attach it to. So we've been back and forth, and you know what? And I'm sorry to say for the community that we were unfortunate with getting grants for this community as far as buying other items that would have helped fund this. It's always been my game plan since I started back in 98 and 2000, when I started a revenue fund to try to help supplement these large purchases. Since pretty much that's why I bought a used ladder truck to save this town $1.2 million. But I have great people on my staff. We have a lot of people that have worked really hard, and we're ready just to get this behind us and try to aggressively move forward. And we're all get our fingers crossed, because we don't know what's going to happen. There's already a governor's phone call tomorrow night for what's happening with the COVID, and who knows what's going to happen in the next couple of months. So I'm hopeful that I'm not back to you guys saying that this truck that should have been delivered within 12 to 18 to 24 months will now take 2 to 3 years, because I don't know if we can make it that long. So I truly support and the project and moving forth, so we don't get farther behind with a lot of our capital budgets. And I am sorry for the taxpayers of Tolland that unfortunately my assets and my community items are probably the highest, largest assets as far as apparatus, vehicles, or anything else in the town. And I'm sorry to say that unfortunately, the way we're driven through NFPA and other OSHA and other mandated specs, our hands are tied. And for a truck of this nature, back in 1978, costed $100,000, if not $90,000, because I went back to talk to a lot of old timers this weekend because we lost one. And pretty much we had a 1978 rescue truck for over 20 something years. And that's what ended up replacing this versus old box trucks. So unfortunately, our nature of the business is only getting busier and the community is getting bigger and the call volumes are going bigger. So we await your direction, but I truly support and I appreciate all the people that have spoke tonight. I'm very touched. So thank you.
Thank you, John. I will now accept a motion to close the public hearing.
Mr. Chairman, before we do that, did you want me to just go really quickly through the types of emails we received about the fire truck? Just so that the residents that wrote in know that we received the emails and that they're put, you know, it's just.
We could do that. It's they're through correspondence, but yeah, we
Right,
could. Yeah.
Yeah, I just like to keep it to the subject matter. So, hold on, glasses, sorry. We received an email from a resident who supports the purchase of the fire truck, but opposes use of the general fund, especially during the health emergency. We received another from a resident who wants a review of the process, but trusts our decision. Another resident asked us to strongly consider bonding. Another resident approves to purchase the truck outright. Another resident says it's practical to pay in cash. Another resident asks us about cost. He feels the cost seems high and feels we must go through with the bond if we decide to purchase this. Another resident said no bonding for the truck. And that was it for correspondence concerning the fire truck.
Okay. All right, so let's close the public hearing. We can discuss this. So I'll accept a motion to close the public hearing.
This is Brenda Felucci, so moved.
This is Cassandra Forsyth, I second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Brenda?
Aye.
Cassandra?
Aye.
Lou?
Aye.
I jumped right over you, John. John?
Aye. I'm paying attention.
Kurt?
Aye.
And I have an aye. So, all right, so the public hearing is now closed. Now we get to discuss it. So before we jump into what Mr. Barnaby is here for, and Lisa, I know you have some stuff to say also. Do we want to address anything that Ms. Murray said or Ms. Getz said? Lisa, well, first of all, I think there's some misinformation in there. This issue was voted on in July 2019. It was also duly noted that we were going to revisit this once we had closed the books and knew what we had for money left. And as far as how much we had left, I can't remember off the top of my head, but I want to say was close to $300,000 last year. And then it was another 300 and something this year. But as far as how long the funding has been available for the fire truck, as I stated in the last meeting, it has always, on my understanding, that we approved the bonding in July of 2019 so we could go ahead and purchase this truck. We got the bonding in place so we could purchase the truck. We are going to discuss the actual funding of it. We knew it was going to take at least 6+ months to get the truck quoted, and even before we got the first invoice. So we had time to wait to review on the funding. And then COVID happened, which exasperated all of it. And John couldn't move forward at that time with everything that needed to be done. By then we had 2 years of actuals now closed. We don't have the last one validated, but so the idea that the council held up this purchase, I don't think there is any truth to that at all. But Lisa, please feel free to.
Okay, no, I agree. The one thing, there's a misunderstanding out there on a number of things that Katie had said regarding as you said, the bonding was in place. So whether we pay for it with cash or bonding, the chief could still move forward. It's my problem to figure out how I'm going to write that check. So in any event, he could get started. Understandably, now with the COVID, it's very difficult for him to get people together. So there was never an issue with him not having an account or approval to move forward with that, as far as I'm concerned. Secondly, we did not issue the bond. So the bond authorization is, yes, it is approved and it's authorized at this point. There, that is the funding source. But we did not issue the bond, so the cash is not sitting anywhere. And forgive me, I may have misunderstood what Mrs. Murray said. But I thought she thought that the cash from the bonding was sitting there, but I could have misunderstood that. So regarding that, the authorization to move forward was always there. There was never a holdup. Regarding the chief's statement going back to 2012, there was a number of capital project programs. There are times that the previous town manager pushed things out to try to balance the impact on the budget. So yes, things were pushed out as much as he could to try to have a balanced effect. Now the question regarding the 18-19, I have the gap basis of the impact on fund balance, and we actually had a reduction to fund balance of $285,305 in the 18-19 fiscal year. That was on a GAAP basis. On a budgetary basis, we had a little over 100,000 or something like that from what I can remember. I don't have the budgetary numbers in front of me. So that was the first year in a long time that we actually ended up using fund balance. I think 14-15 was the last year that we had used fund balance because of the impact of revenues. Now, certainly we were supposed to use much more than 285,000, but we had funds left over for various reasons. So that kind of, I hope I've explained those questions.
I'm looking for my paper, Lisa. I had it written down somewhere. I'm like,
what are you looking for, that spreadsheet?
I'm looking for I know we had, oh wait, maybe here it is. This is what happens, 5 different offices in one. Your end year results on budgetary basis for 2019. There was excess revenue 202,784 and expenses were $339,894 lower than budget. That included, though, 85,113 that was going back to the Board of Ed for the 1% fund.
So what does that come out to? A little over 100,000? I can't.
254,781.
All right, on the positive side.
Yep.
All right, I knew it was around there. That's a budgetary basis. GAAP has all those other adjusting entries, and that's usually what, the bonding agency and all those go by.
Right.
So any other questions regarding that piece?
I think that answers the question and the information. I think that also answers Mrs. Gett's question about the 18-19 numbers. So having that done, how's everybody else feeling on this? This is our time to discuss this. We've seen the emails, had public participation, and it looks like Lou has his hand up. I think that's Lou. I thought I renamed you.
Yeah, you did, and I got kicked off again, so
right.
Thank you.
I'm going to rename you again.
Thank you. All right. Thank you, Madam Chair. Lou Luba for the record. I would concur with what's been said so far, that looking at the minutes from the prior meeting back in 2019, I think it's very clear as far as what the discussions were, as far as Mr. Werbner's intention about us examining the actual funding source after we had the chance to close the books and take a look at it. Also, at no point in time do I recall us ever saying not to make a purchase or not to make the order. That I think it's something that as based upon, and of course I didn't hear the full thing of Chief Lytle said because I got bumped off, but that based upon prior discussions, that a lot of it was based upon getting the specs, looking at the information, trying to get everything together, and then working with other towns that were possibly making purchases to try and get a lower amount on the truck at that point to try and save the town money. So I think this perception of the town council saying, no, do not purchase is not accurate. I think it was just a calamity of situations that occurred that prevented this purchase from going forward within the time frame that we were all hoping it would. And so I just wanted to make that clear that I don't think that there's anything that's on the record at all, or any discussions that were had with Mr. Rosen, with Chief Lytle, or anyone saying, do not purchase this truck until we decide how we're going to fund it. The funding was there, but we just never had a chance to get the specs together or put the order in until this point. So that's all I really wanted to comment on. If there's anybody that can correct me saying that I'm wrong on it, I'm more than happy to hear it. But based upon my review of the records, based upon review of the minutes, based upon the review of everything, there's nothing like that in any of them. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Lou. I'm still in favor of what we discussed last week, which is using the fund to pay for this, especially after we had our bond rating review and the two concerns that were mentioned. I think that definitely reinforces the fact that at this time it would be best to purchase this with the money that we had set aside from the 19 and potential the savings here from 2020 to go towards that purchase price, and rather than bond it. We have a pretty aggressive capital expense project plan stuff coming up in the next few years. We know we've already got tax pressure for Birch Grove for the next 5 years, and we've got the fire station that we have to look at. So I'm all in favor of paying cash and not bonding for this. Well, that's me, and I just said that because nobody else's hand was up. I mean, we usually wait to go last, but Brenda's hand is up now.
Brenda Falusi. I just want to say there has been a lot of changes, and even in just the past week. The governor has extended the health emergency until February. As of last week, there was the possibility that this might not have gone that long. Also, on some phone calls with Joe Courtney, I found out that some of the FEMA reimbursements that we would be hoping for are not going to be as high. In fact, I believe I heard that the only education reimbursements might be for that initial cleaning, and we may not receive anything else. So that's still up in the air. With the continuation, a 6-month continuation of the health emergency, with not having the specs of the fire truck right now, with the uncertainty of what we're going to have to pay as we move forward during this health emergency, I think the prudent thing to do is to continue with the bonding. I have a question on if the fire truck has not had the specs out, we don't have to do the bonding right away. We could possibly wait until it's ready to be ordered, so that maybe this is something we're not carrying forward. If we're unable to make the purchase and do the specs for another 6 months, let's wait on that. Also, I had one other point and I forgot what it was. Oh, our bond rating. That bond rating that we just received was based on looking at where we were last week and what our plans were last week, which included bonding for the fire truck. So we received the highest rating while having the fire truck as bonding. So that's not hurting us now. I would really like to have a discussion when we take a look next time at our 5-year capital plan and see then when we can look at a number of different items instead of just one, and see where we can make some progress at reducing what we're carrying. I think that's the much more prudent path to take here. I think allowing this to still be on bonding and waiting to see how things go and taking a look at our bond rating is much more responsive and responsible to do during a health emergency. Thank you.
Thank you. Kurt?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd just like to make a couple points or a couple statements regarding this. I think, whatever our decision is, we should be finalizing it tonight so we can finally have a just clear and straightforward answer going forward for all the town staff. And last meeting, I believe it was, I made some mentions of of my opinions on the idea of the actual savings of this purchase versus cash. Purchasing it in cash versus purchasing it with a bond. I don't believe it is some boon for the town in savings because of how low the interest rates are in the 20-year prospectus. But I do see this as an opportunity for us to be preemptive and proactive in what we know is coming up down the pike in terms of increased tax increases due to Birch Road project and a whole host of other things that will be new tax burdens. We can kind of soften that blow by doing this in cash and moving forward with fire truck. So, thank you.
Thank you, Kurt. Lou?
I'm set, Madam Chair. Thank you very much.
Actually, sorry, Lou. I'm going to put you on hold and I'll go back to you after John because John hasn't spoken.
You don't have to come back to me, but thank you.
Okay. John?
Okay, thank you. So my concern with this whole thing is the debt load that we're asking our residents to carry. And the fact that with the addition of Birch Grove, through no fault of our own, we're gonna have a very difficult time keeping a reasonable mill rate. So I'm hoping that either Lisa or Mr. Burnaby can give me a little clarification. And will our bond rating be more susceptible to being lowered if we do this? And how close would we be, or how close are we getting if we do issue a bond for this to potentially having our bond rating lowered?
I will comment, but I'll also let Barry tell me if I'm right or wrong. If there's a couple of situations here. If you were to take the cash and use fund balance versus issuing more debt. First of all, as Brenda mentioned, the debt of the $750,000 was included in our debt management plan that we presented to the rating agency because everything was still in place at that point. So they were aware of that being as part of the debt structure. Now, if you were to go and issue the debt, that probably wouldn't have as drastic impact as it would if your fund balance starts drastically decreasing over the next few years. And in your packet tonight, and there is an estimated impact on fund balance going out through fiscal year 24-25. Now, Tammy, I know you had a concern about the numbers, thinking that it didn't include what was adjusted last time. And I can tell you what makes up in the 1920. This was handed out in your packet.
Yeah, I know. I printed it off. So
Okay.
the one that I was looking at, though, the one that was in the original, that isn't in the packet, only goes out to 2021.
Oh.
That's what I meant. Like the one that's in the packet, it didn't have the corrections that you and I talked about, and it didn't have. It only goes up to the 2021 date.
Okay. You know what? I don't know if you all have access to your email, but I can shoot that right to you. I do apologize. I didn't realize that's what was in the packet, because when Mike said to me the numbers hadn't changed, I'm like, I know I had all the right numbers.
Maybe we can share the screen. Maybe we can share the screen so everyone can see it.
It's on my computer.
Lisa, send it to me an email and I'll pull it up on the screen.
Okay, I'll do that right now. Just a moment. Share. Come on. Tammy. Okay, you should have it shortly. Let me know if you get it.
I just got it. Hold on, let me.
Perfect. It only came through with one tab on it, right?
I'm not sure. It takes my computer a minute to
Okay.
open externals, so I have like the firewall stuff on there.
And
And
maybe we could share this with the rest of the council.
yep, I will forward it.
Thank you.
No problem. It's doing its bouncy ball thing.
You want me to send it to Mike? Maybe he could.
No, it's up. I'm just
Okay,
taking a
good.
second.
Perfect.
I'm trying to make it bigger now, so everybody will be able to.
I think the main part to focus on is towards the bottom where you get into the fund balance analysis part. Starting like line 53 going down.
Okay. Can everybody see my screen?
It's kind of tiny.
Yeah, let me make it bigger. Is that better?
Yeah. Okay. So if now you see where the right there, yeah. That number is comprised of the 421,522 that was in the Board of Ed 1% fund. We added 85,113, and then we're potentially giving them 496,140 next year, which is part to the 1% fund, part to the COVID fund. So that's what makes up that number. And I thought you were questioning that number. I didn't realize you had the wrong spreadsheet. So I apologize for that.
Okay.
But what the point I want to make here is if you go down to the bottom and you look at line 75, okay, you'll notice where, where fund balance is right now on a GAAP basis, the best estimates we can provide. And with our planned intention of trying to use a little bit of fund balance to get us back to a point where we're not using much fund balance, and taking into account giving the Board of Ed the 496 and using $750,000 from fund balance for the truck, you'll notice by the end of 24-25, we're dangerously close to that 10%. Now, this is a policy decision of all of you as a whole, how you want to use fund balance in the future and that. But also, if you go all the way to the top and take a look at where the taxes are going the next few years on line 8, you'll notice that they're starting to substantially increase. And this is just using a scenario of a 2% spending increase and the reduction in ECS money. It does not take into the account if we were to lose some of that municipal stabilization money, which is over $300,000 itself. I'm kind of keeping everything somewhat balanced as far as the revenues are concerned. Little changes in investment income here and there. So, taking some of those assumptions in place, you're looking at some, definitely some impacts on taxes in the future to say if, just using scenarios of a 2% increase incorporating in the change in debt service that we would have, and incorporating in the capital improvement program that's out there. Those are the knowns that we have. So with those assumptions in place, if you were to use the 750,000 now, yes, you would have a little bit of savings in debt service depending on how many years you're going to go out, maybe around 50,000 a year in debt savings. The concern that is here is that your unassigned is getting close to what your policy states. So if there are any other emergencies that come forward, we may not have the ability to respond unless we dip in below 10%. I mean, at least we will still have, with this scenario, about almost $7 million for an emergency, but at that point, you wouldn't really have any money to offset another budget. It all depends on what happens in the future. Now, if we have another good year this year, then that may add to fund balance rather than using the 500,000 that we're planning on using, and plus the other, the Board of Ed money and all that we're taking out. So these are some of the things to keep in mind. If this case does prove true, something like this could hurt us more than not issuing the debt if it were to continue. We're still fairly healthy, but I'm going to let Barry comment on this further because he's the one who works with the rating agencies on a daily basis almost. Barry, do you want to add to this, please?
Sure, Lisa. I think I agree with everything that you said. I think you hit it right on. I personally don't think there is a right or wrong answer. I see it as a policy decision for the town to make. But if I had to pick one metric that the rating agencies concentrate the most on, it would probably be the level of fund balance as a percent of the budget. So clearly, there's nothing wrong with using fund balance to pay for a capital project instead of bonding. But if the town loses flexibility and there are tough budgets coming down the pike and the town's fund balance does fall below that 10%, I think that would raise more red flags than simply bonding for the fire truck. So long story short, I don't see there, again, being a right or wrong answer, but fund balance is critical, especially for a community like Tolland that I think is punching above its weight class to some degree. You know, you have the highest bond rating possible, but you don't have the wealth levels. Some of those, obviously some of the communities in lower Fairfield County that have a lot more flexibility. So the fund balance levels are paid more attention to in Tolland than they would be, say, in a New Canaan or a Wilton community like that.
So in our review, when they mentioned the fact that the two items of concern for Tolland were our level of debt and our stagnant or reduced grant list, you're saying that that's not weighted as, you know, the fact that they pointed that out, that our debt level is high considering, or that's not as weighted as just the number we have in there?
Well, debt is taken into consideration. It certainly is. There are different metrics for debt that they do look at. They look at debt per capita. They look at how quickly the town's debt amortizes. And they look at debt service as a percentage of the town's grant list. So there are a couple different metrics. I think, is like Lisa said, if the budgets going forward are fine and fund balance grows, I don't think there's a problem at all using the 750,000, taking it out of fund balance. It's just what I'm saying is if the budgets result in fund balance going down in the future and it falls below 10%, I think that will have a larger impact, negative impact on the town's rating than bonding for the $750,000. But debt is clearly a metric, and they would like to see the town's grant list grow more. That was something mentioned in the report.
Okay. Lou, your hand is up. Lou, are you on mute? Or can I find Lou again? I think Lou, you're on mute. Let's see. Lou, are you
Sorry,
there?
I'm sorry. I've been having technical issues out here, so I've been fading in and out. So I thank you, Madam Chair. The question that I have is with regard to the fund balance, and this is primarily towards Lisa. Has there been a year that we've not had money go back into the fund balance at the end of a budget cycle? So in other words, like this year we were concerned about having money, then funds went in. And the year before that, as we wrapped up, then I know that there was funds that were going back in. So has there ever been a year where at the end of the budget that we've not had additional funds go back into the fund balance?
Yes, if Tammy, if you scroll down, well, see, now I only have it on GAAP basis. So if you go to line 53, you will see in 14-15, we used 209,456. Last year, because of, again, I'm speaking GAAP basis, which is what is used for analysis, we used 285,305. In previous years, we actually did have some fairly decent funds, growing fund balance for various reasons. I'd have to go back to each year to see exactly what it was. I know, I think it was 17, 18, we had the police contract that was delayed and that turned back at like 600 and something thousand, I think 690,000 or something was part of that. I think it was that year. I'm just speaking off the top of my head. So yes, and then looking at the 2021 budget, depending on what you do, we're looking at taking almost 1.7, 1.8 million out of fund balance between the 500,000 that we're using this year, plus the money to the Board of Ed of the 496, the 750 for the fire truck, all that's in there as to, it's showing about a 1.7, $1.8 million reduction to fund balance. And that's line 53.
That's if we use the 500,000 too, though, correct, Lisa?
Yes, these are all just estimates thinking that if everything happened the way it was supposed to be. The only savings that I'm aware of right now is about $28,000 in the police department because the fringe benefit rate came in a little bit less. We're having a number of retirements happening and a lot of final benefits that are going to have to be paid out probably beyond what we had estimated in our budget because we didn't expect certain retirements to be happening. So there'll be some, other expenditures that we weren't planning on, and we're going to have to figure out how we're going to cover some of that through attrition, things like that. But I'm not aware of any major savings at the moment. There may be some COVID-related savings, but we won't know that until as the year goes on.
Okay, and there was a follow-up question I had that, of course, just went straight out of my head while I'm trying to concentrate on the numbers because I'm on the phone, so I can't see it. So I'm just trying to picture, the numbers that you're discussing here. So if I can remember it, I'll come back to the issue. I know it had to do with if you use the cash now and then having down the road the other expenditures and how that would affect our interest rate. So if we took this money out now as opposed to going to bonding for it, if that would by bonding if it would increase the interest rates that we pay for other further expenditures down the line. Because I mean, I'm always one where I'm wary about using any type of revenue or extra funding that we have at the end of the year for operational expenses. That's a very poor fiscal decision because you're just spending money without getting anything out of it, and that I would rather have it spent towards getting a piece of equipment rather than bonding it than just adding on to a budget without actually addressing the what's the cause of the cost overruns. But so thank you, Madam Chair. If I think of it, I'll come in again. Thank you.
No problem, Lou.
I lost my connection too for.
Do you still have us?
Yeah, I have you on here. I'm just saying to my work thing, I just totally froze, but I've got you here, so.
Okay. Does anybody else have anything they want to ask? I don't see any other hands up. Lisa, what if we split the difference? What if we paid cash for, I was just playing with the numbers. What if we paid cash for 400,000? We know we've had, like I said, we had the 200 and something thousand that went into the fund last year. And then you have an anticipated again this year. You've got an anticipated going in. We had 223,000 in revenues, and then you had another 320,000 here. Then the COVID stuff has to come out, so like another 200,000. So got almost.
I can't get into my spreadsheet. Well, that was one of the things I discussed with Barry today, and Barry can pipe in a second if you'd like. One of the thoughts that I had was, maybe you bond some and maybe you put cash for part of it. So you kind of still keep your fund balance a little bit in there in case, for emergencies, and try not to let that number get down close to 10% as close as it is. Maybe you could play with the numbers because I can't get into my stupid.
I love playing with the numbers, Lisa.
No, you know what I mean. To
Yeah.
See if we were to use, like if you change, there's a formula where you're.
I'm right there. If I pop in, if I say we're going to do 450 instead of 750, that gets us to 10.5% out. And like you said, this is the projection, formula. And this is including this is saying that we're going up 2%.
What's in that formula right there?
The one that I just modified?
Yeah, undo it.
It was
undo it. Just do undo. All right, 942. Go back on that cell, please.
Yep.
Thank you. All right, so it's 750,000 only. So what you would do is change that 750 to 300. So go up there and
I would
or whatever number you want.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
I'm just I'm doing that, but I'm doing it the long way. I'm showing my work.
Oh, okay.
So that would get us to 10.7 at the end. If
everything holds through, you may have more revenues, you may have less revenue, you may, but I mean, that's another option you can have. You can look at, do you want, I think we had based it on if we went out 15 years on the 750,000, I think it was close to 50,000 a year, something like that.
Right. It's 50,000 of principal a year. It's about, in principal and interest is about 60,000 a year.
Right. Okay. And then the total interest on that would be close to 75,000, just based on guesstimated what we sell the bonds for.
Is that 15 year you said, Lisa?
Yeah, if we did a 15-year amortization schedule, I think our debt plan has a 20-year.
It has it at 20. That's part of my concern too, is we're amortizing out a fire truck for 20 years. That's not going to last for 20 years. So that's a concern of mine. Anytime you're paying debt for longer than the life of something is
normally, I mean, John does a great job with his equipment, and a lot of times he does push things out as long as he can. And as he said, this has to be replaced. But,
Absolutely.
I'd have to go back to the original plan. I thought it was 20 years, but I know looking at 15, what the numbers would be.
Yeah, I know originally it was 20 from when we talked, and the
I
truck
think
that
so.
we're looking at now is 18 years old. So if it had a 20-year bond on it, we'd still be paying for a truck that we're replacing. That's my concern when we bond out longer than the life of something.
Right. You don't want to do that.
Right.
Definitely don't.
Right. So
And usually when it comes time, when we issue the debt, we're taking another look at, what kind of assets do we have here? And we're structuring the terms where something may only be 7 years, but another thing may be 20 years. And the debt is structured in such a way so that it is based on the life of the assets when the final real bond issue comes into play. And
So
we try to put most of that in place.
one other quick question for you. This number up here in 28 debt service, this 4.7, that's going to be 4.8, 4.9, 5 million. Does that include the fire truck?
It does, but those numbers won't change because our debt is actually more than those numbers. And we're balancing it with the use of a debt service fund and premiums that we hope to make. So those are the numbers that we need to make sure that we build up. I don't think those numbers are going to change much, if anything. But Barry, do you have any comment about that?
You're right, Lisa. So due to your magic there, right? Yeah, the town's debt service is actually a little bit higher than those numbers. So we had built in that you would ramp those up gradually over time. And just going back earlier to the earlier question, you're absolutely right. Even though the total bond issue may go out 20 years, it is possible to have projects embedded in that bond issue that only go out, say, 10 years or 15 years or whatever term you like. So it is possible to have internal amortizations that go out shorter than the total bond amortization.
Lou, you have your hand up?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. I remember the question I had before. This is for Lisa. That the question I have is that right now, no matter what, based upon the money that we took to offset some of the expenses this past year from the fund balance or from our operating expenses, that we're already looking over the next several years at a built-in tax increase. Is that correct?
Absolutely. And using fund balance to help offset some of that tax increase. If you look towards the bottom on line 68, you'll see, for example, next year for the 21-22 budget, and this may not happen, but just as an example, using $400,000 to offset the 21-22 budget. And $300,000 for 22-23, $200,000, $100,000, and then you get to a point in 24-25, you're not going to really be able to use anything to offset your budget to help with the taxes.
Okay.
Amy, stop changing my.
I'm sorry.
You know I'm playing, Lisa.
Lou, you can't see what she's doing, but she's changing the numbers on the screen.
I'm looking at growth, all right?
Yeah, okay.
All right. So, because I mean, that when we passed the budget and we were talking about the budget earlier this year, we built in that declining use of the fund balance to offset any expenses. That's correct, right?
That is correct.
Yeah.
Okay, and then as far as by adding on this bonding, did we have the what we'd be paying for the bond, for the interest and the principal on that bond built in as part of that formula to where it was offset?
Say that again.
Yeah, I know. I'm trying to think of how to put it the best way. When we were going through the budget, earlier this year, when we were looking at having the decreasing funds, and we were talking about using less of the fund balance to offset any type of tax increases, there's still going to be a tax increase no matter what. It's just a matter of how much going forward. And then as far as having this bond issued, so say if we did go for the full amount on the bond, is that something that was built in so that do we have the interest and the principal figured out as far as our expenses moving forward when that projection was made?
I think I understand what you're saying.
I hope so, because I don't. But
I'm
yeah.
going to try here. The principal and interest are built into our debt management plan. Now, that will change depending on the final interest rates when we go to sell the bonds. The bonds for that particular fire truck aren't even set to be issued until 21, 22 in our scenario, because I pushed it out in case you decided to use cash. I wasn't going to issue the bonds and have to take interest income and interest expense and all that. So in the meantime, I would have to front it with cash flow if John were to get the truck before the bonds were issued, which I would usually be able to do because we have a fairly good fund balance. So I think in answering your question, yes, the principal and interest was included in our debt estimates for the budgets, but it wasn't included in this year's debt.
Okay. And then I'm sorry, because this is the second part of the question. There's actually 3 questions I had then. Then the second aspect of it is that, so we're not going to be issuing this bond at this point. So will that, with the additional bonding that we're going to have, the additional funds that we're going to be using, or that, for looking at the fire department and other expenses that we have down the road, will that affect the interest rate that we will be paying for the fire truck if we do go to bond?
I'm not sure. Barry, do you understand what he's asking?
I'm not. I mean, I don't. I think the interest rate that the town gets tomorrow when we sell the bonds will be no different if you issue 10 million, 11 million, or 9 million. So
okay.
I'm not quite sure I understand him, but that 750,000.
Yeah. No, that answers my question. Okay. I appreciate it. Thank you, Madam Chair. That's all I have.
No problem. Brenda?
Hi, Brenda Falusi. I have a question about process for the public hearing. We're doing a public hearing for issuing bonds for the truck or paying cash for the truck, whatever. Are we allowed to change what we are making a decision about at this point? Or not? And also, are we allowed to carry this forward, like by not making a decision today because we're not ready to purchase the truck as of today? Is this something that we can keep open and continue until we have a better idea of what maybe our future expenses would be for the COVID-19, what our expenses reimbursement would be for FEMA, and what the final cost of the truck would be? So those are process questions, I guess.
I think this is Mike Rosen, a town manager. I think I can answer as many of those questions as I can. I do believe that if this were to be amended on the floor tonight to use any amount other than 750,000, that would be allowable because we've had public hearings where we've changed the language after the public hearing had closed to amend it based on the conversation that's been had either during the public hearing or during the deliberation portion. So I think it would be okay to go forward with this if that's the way the council wanted to do it. I do agree that, if the decision could not be made tonight, that what we would do would be to put this on under old business on the next meeting and to continue the discussion. I don't think that between now and our next meeting that we will probably have any, we won't have the FEMA numbers necessarily. I know we're also, I think you're right, Brenda, about what you said earlier. FEMA reimbursements probably won't be as favorable as we once hoped. That's globally, that's not just in Tolland. I know that we're tracking down CARES Act money now too. So Lisa's been working very hard on that. So I don't think we'll have all the everything fleshed out between now and the next meeting. But yeah, just in general, this could potentially wait if that's the way the council wants it to go. But it also could be dealt with tonight either way. I think it's still open for discussion.
Anything else, Brenda?
Thank you.
Okay, anybody else have anything they want to ask or throw in here? So, Mike, in regards to the, not that the two are directly linked, but they are parallel to each other. In regards to the FEMA question, we have money set aside in our storm emergency fund, correct? Have we exhausted that?
No, the declaration fund, which I think it has roughly $100,000 left in it. We have used about $40,000 or so of it for for COVID related expenses over the past 6 months. We haven't tapped into it much, probably now for a few months. Yeah. So we've hit a leveling point, but we never know what could happen in the next few weeks or months. Most recently, I looked at using, and I haven't, but I looked at using some of the money from that account to potentially retrofit the council chambers to answer a question that had come up earlier tonight about how can we have in-person meetings. I looked at maybe we can spend some money to figure out how to get the council chambers up and running, but we didn't go forward with that. In fact, I'm tracking down another solution for that now. So we're not using that account every day anymore. That was more of a March, April, and May thing.
Okay, and then so the money that we started out with that, about 140 something?
145, 150.
145.
Yeah,
So we've used about 45,000 of it for the COVID stuff on the town side, and on the school side, they got the $45,000 grant already. And then there's the other one that's supposed to be coming with the CARES money. That's the almost 150,000. Plus they got the grant already for the 900 Chromebooks and laptops. And we have $282,000 approximately for this potential COVID fund. And they are going to have, nearly how much money are they going to have in their ERF fund, Lisa, with that? Almost a million, right?
Well, they have a little over 506,000 right now. Then if
they're adding 200, almost
400,000.
Yeah.
Right, 400 just for the 1% fund. So that'll bring them up to about 900,000. And then they'll have the money, the differential going into their COVID, a separate fund. Because you can't put it into the 1% fund.
Right, it can't go into the 1% fund. So it would have to be used separately. So I guess my point is the school's got about $1 million besides the grant money and the new laptops and Chromebooks and the potential other $150,000 grant that the state was giving from the CARES Act.
Yeah, I don't know if they got it all yet.
Yeah.
That's kind of just, it's out there, but I don't think they got it all. So just, I was looking up how much we've spent so far. And actually we've spent about $64,600 actually out of that fund, out of the declaration fund. Not 40. And because we did have some expenditures in this year, last year it was about 53,000 as of the end of the fiscal year, but there have been some more expenditures in the new year.
And right now we're looking at, the original assumption was FEMA was 75% and the state of Connecticut was 25% reimbursement.
Here's what's happening. FEMA will give you 75% of eligible costs. And from where we started the year, we thought everything, protective measures for the various offices, hand sanitizer, whatever you needed to make the staff and the building safe, we thought was going to be eligible. And now they're basically telling us only the emergency operations center, supplies and things like that, dividers to secure those people would be eligible. The initial cleaning of the board and town buildings would be eligible, but no additional cleaning, no cleaning supplies, nothing. So when I spoke with Martin Heft up at the Office of Policy and Management, what we're going to do, and I don't know if they will cover it, but I'm submitting everything to them once I get the response from FEMA. So if FEMA says you only have out of $70,000 or whatever it is, only 20 of it is eligible, they're going to give you 75% of that. The other 25% would be covered by the state.
Yep.
And that's a given. The rest of it, what I'm doing, I've already loaded all the invoices into the state system with a 0 reimbursement rate from FEMA. I can't actually submit it until I get the denial from FEMA. But FEMA, I've already worked with them and they've pretty much said, you're not getting it.
Yeah.
So what I'm going to try to do is get 100% reimbursement from the state through that CRF fund. And that's going to be if they agree with it.
Right.
So there's things that the state will consider and things that they won't. And it's just going to be, once I submit it, then we see what happens. Excuse me. So I won't know if we'll get all that money back or not. And if I can get money for the Board of Ed, I've put every one of their invoices in as well.
Mm-hmm.
Because basically for this FEMA submission, everything that was on the Board of Ed list, they said was ineligible. And they had a pretty big number there. So I'm going to try and get it. And if I get it, then
right, we'll take what we can get from the state
Yeah.
on that. And then
Yeah.
we, like I said, we've got the COVID fund and the other stuff too, that is available to look at. Hopefully the state will come through with FEMA funding on that. They said they would, so it's a matter of whether or not
they do. Yeah.
Right. So looking at all of this and playing with your spreadsheet a little bit, Lisa. I'm wondering how everybody would feel with a split rather than the full 750, just being precautious in looking at the extended numbers. Again, this has a lot of assumption in it. It's got a 2+% growth for 2 rates for 2 years, and then a 2%. And that 1.7 is reflective of, I'm assuming part of that is the debt going down. That's when we're going to start to see Birch Grove go back down. It's still going to be higher than it is right now, but start to go back down from the increase when we see other debt fall off. And this number would slightly change if we did partial in cash and partial debt, but it wouldn't be significant. If it's $60,000 a year for 15 years, if we lowered that amount by half, it would maybe be a reduction of, actually, it wouldn't be any reduction in the debt, you said. The debt number would stay.
Yeah, until we get to that 4.9 million. Because in that particular year, it could possibly, for example, the year that it's 5 million, right now, the actual debt that year is 5,226,000, let's say. In the year it goes down to 4.9 million, it's really 5,014,000. So we're still, robbing Peter to pay Paul or whatever we're doing. We're not robbing, we're using our debt service fund by the way we're doing it. So once you hit that, get to that 4.9, that's where the debt starts falling off the books. It starts going down. And the year after the 4.9 million, I go down to 4.8 million, but that certainly could go down even more, a little bit more. We're building a little bit in there to, oh, wait a minute, let me take a look at this.
How long before we're back down to the 4, before the pre-Birch Grove, like the 4.55?
Let me see if I could run the line here. It looks like 26, 27 fiscal year.
26, 27?
Yeah. And that's when you could probably start thinking about putting some of that money towards a capital non-recurring fund, setting aside funds to start buying capital outright rather than issuing debt. Because debt is going to start drastically falling off the books after that. So then you can make some political decisions at that point where do you want to reduce some of it, put some towards capital non-recurring, and of course pay your debt that's due. There's a lot of things that can be discussed at that point once we know where we're at with future capital
6
needs.
to 7 years.
Yeah.
I miss the days of this being paid off by 2023. Okay,
Well,
so
I'll tell you, we would have been in good shape if we didn't have this other debt hit us, and thank God that we're only paying 11% of that project, of the Birch Grove project. Otherwise, it would have been worse.
I'm actually concerned too, because I know with the fire department coming up, that original 3 million estimate goes back a long time. And there's nothing out there that says that we're going to hit that number. It could be significantly more. And that's another thing that we've put off for a long time. And that original 3 million did not include the crumbling foundation that is there. So there's a potential that that 3 million number changes next year to something that's higher, which is then going to increase our debt again. So,
and all that would have to go out for referendum.
Well, that's definitely going to have to go out for referendum.
Mhm.
There's no way it can't. It's too big of a number. That's not
So I
something.
mean, so we're going to have some time before that even happens, because I don't know if we would have any sort of number by, there's just no way now for this year. So it would have to go out to referendum next year at some point.
That's depending on too when we get the information from the survey back, and that if we get that back in time to get it in, because for referendum, what we have to have that locked down by May, right?
You have to have, you have to have it a few months in advance, because there's so much explanatory text that you have to have out there. You have to have good solid numbers.
Yeah.
So you got to make sure you have all that before you're even moving forward with it.
That's on my horizon. I know that there's 3 million built in here, but I think that number might be conservative.
It could be.
Yeah. So I'm proposing then, I'm open to conversation, but I am proposing that we split this and maybe do 400,000 in cash and bond 350,000 of it. That would keep us, if we played with these numbers here, Lisa, that would get us to around 10.6 if all of these other conditions met, which I'm optimistic that there will be more money turned back than not, just by matter of turnover and expenditures and how it works and how we've been doing the last few years. So, but then again, I've got about this much faith in what's going to happen at the state level right now from a revenue perspective. So, I feel like I'm playing craps, and the color that I'm picking is yellow.
I do not have the bonding, the resolution. We have to be very careful, because I think the language in the resolution rescinded the entire bond.
I think it does too.
That's
And you
correct,
don't- You
yes.
definitely do not want to use that language.
No. I'm sorry, I'm on new items I'm looking at. Hold on. I need to get to the actual. Yes, right now it says consideration of a resolution to rescind the issuance of bonds approved.
Yeah.
So we would have to modify that, but I don't think we're at that point of modifying yet. I know, John, you had your hand up.
I did. I just took it down because I'm trying to understand this issue you're talking about right now. But originally, I was all for paying cash because I don't like debt and I don't want to saddle the taxpayers with more debt than we absolutely need to. But after hearing what I heard tonight, I'm in favor now of what you just proposed, Tammy, which was the split. So I would favor that as long as we can get the language correct in what you were just discussing.
Are you good with I threw out 400,000. Is that what you're thinking around
Yep.
that number?
I can support that. Yep. I can't support the paying cash for 750 anymore, even though I came here tonight thinking I was going to, but now I don't feel comfortable with that now.
Yeah. Anybody else want to weigh in on that? The proposition of, I guess, so I said 400, John's on board with 400. If there's anything else anybody wants us to consider.
This is Brenda Falusi. That looking at 10.6 still is not within my comfort level. There's too many ifs, there's too many unknowns, too many emergencies coming up. We were throwing around a lot of numbers about, who has what money, but it's still all up in the air. I feel much more comfortable bonding because I'm scared of that 10.6 still. We need cash for flexibility, especially during emergency. That's where I'm at.
Thank you. Lou?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm in agreement with John. I think that I was in the same place where I was ready to vote fully for the full cash payment on it. But I believe that after hearing this, I think that the more prudent is to play Solomon and to split the difference on it. I think that the $400,000 with the bonding the remainder is something that I could support. Thank you.
Thank you. Cassandra?
Sorry about that. I'm right with John and Lou with supporting half cash, half bond, or the split that we talked about.
Okay. Kurt? How you feeling, Kurt? Where is Kurt? Is Kurt here?
Oh, no, I'm trying to figure out the unmute here. You hear me now?
Yep, I can hear you now.
Thank you. Yeah, I was on the fence, and liquidity was a big issue for me coming into this. And after seeing these numbers, I'm, or what was originally proposed, it was no surprising to me. So I would very much, at max, at the most I'm willing to go is that split. There's no way I could, good faith, pay full cash at this point. But I would like to get something resolved tonight. I don't think dragging this out will do anyone any benefits. So if a 400-350 split is what's being proposed, I think I could be in favor of that.
Thank you. Lisa, how do you feel about that?
Sorry, I was on mute.
No, that's all right.
I'm trying to get a hold of our attorney to make sure we can do this in a resolution tonight, to amend this resolution to make sure that, because the language in this resolution rescinds it. So we have to be careful with what we're saying. As far as using 400,000 from fund balance, I feel much better about that than using the whole 750,000, because as you know, I'm extremely conservative and always concerned about wanting to have flexibility and cash flow in case of an emergency. So I feel much better about that than using the whole amount.
Okay.
Certainly, again, it's a policy decision that you all make. I really can't say, no, you can't do that, or yes, you can. I provide you with information to try to help you make decisions based on how you feel as a group.
I appreciate that, Lisa. We value your input.
Thank you.
Mike, how are you feeling?
I think Lisa just said it wonderfully. I was trying to think of how I could say it better, but she just nailed it. This particular circumstance and scenario that we're looking at right now, it speaks for itself. It's not definitely going to happen because it's a scenario. It's what we hope or expect to happen over time. It takes into consideration stable but moderate expenditure increase. It also takes into consideration reduction of state aid. What's not in here necessarily is what happens to the grand list if there's further wave of crumbling foundations. So having more cash on hand that we didn't see coming for that or any other of the emergencies, or potentially, we've seen even in the last year what could happen, curveballs that we could be thrown. So having more cash on hand obviously leaves us more flexibility and nimbleness to do things. So I think, like Lisa said, it's a policy decision, but not seeing that we're going to be down to 10.03 and versus 10.6 or so in the next 5 years is a little bit more of a breath. And, maybe that's not where we end up. Maybe it's 11 or maybe it's more, but I would rather stay away from the lower end of that spectrum, because that's, as we heard earlier from Lisa and Barry, the closer we get to 10%, the more Standard & Poor's will take notice.
Yeah. John, your hand's up.
Yep. I just want to make sure that if we do rescind this original bond, I just want to make sure that we're not delaying the process of acquiring that vehicle that we need. So as long as that's not going to be an issue, then I can support the split. If we rescind that bond and we have to do another issuance and it delays the process, then that I can't support. But I do want the process of the acquisition of that vehicle to keep moving forward.
I agree. And I think that will, right, Lisa? I think we're fine with that. Like we can go ahead and order the truck whenever we get all the specs and everything done.
Yep. And I know Barry and I are going back and forth. We're trying to get a hold of our bond counsel to see if you can just get this done tonight. I just don't want you to rescind the bond resolution, because that could be a whole major issue. So I just got to see.
Well, you have the bond resolution, right? So can we say keep the bond resolution, but only actually engage 350,000 of it?
I think we can. I just need to have his formal approval.
Yep.
And I'm going to try to call him at home. I know Barry tried, he wasn't answering, but I'm going to see, I have a home number here for him. I'll try to reach him out. But otherwise, what I would say is at least vote the motion down to, well.
Can we just
No,
move the vote
you
till
can't.
later in the agenda?
Can you? Can you just table it till later in the agenda and
You
see
could
if
do
I
that
can get an answer?
You could do that with a 2/3 vote, yes.
I make a motion to delay the vote until later in the agenda.
Okay, so let's actually vote to move it to down to section, we'll go down to 9. We'll move it down into old business.
Sure.
That gives us time to get through the new business stuff and that.
Yeah, so I made the motion. I guess we need a second.
Yeah, I'll second Brenda's motion, Tammy.
Okay, any discussion? All those in favor? Brenda?
Aye.
Cassandra?
Aye.
John? Lou?
Aye.
And Kurt?
Aye.
I'm an aye, so that's successful. We'll move it down to after new business. But we're officially in a public hearing. No, the public hearing's closed.
It's closed.
Yep, the public hearing's closed. Yep. All right, we're good. Okay, that gets us to 7A, boards and committees responsible to the council. Let's see. So is Katie still on?
I am, yes.
Okay. Katie, we wanted to get you here to give us an update on Birch Grove. My my laptop here thingy just froze. So can you give us an update on how it's going, where everything is, if it's on budget and all that other good stuff?
Absolutely. The project is going very well. It is running on budget and on time. These are the two big things that the committee is keeping a very close eye on. As anyone who maybe drove through the site today or next to the site today to drop off or pick up kids, the building is quite impressive at this point. The steel frame is completely up, I believe. Masonry walls are going up in multiple sections. Roofing is going up, and they are hoping to get the building airtight, I guess, for sometime in October, so that all site activity, or the overwhelming amount of site activity, will move inside. From our perspective, we had a couple things that happened recently. One is that the new playground, well, let me take a step back. COVID has changed the construction schedule in terms of what elements in the project kind of get installed or erected in which order. This is all being managed by our construction manager. And in order to keep everyone safe on the site, not only right now, but going into the time where they're going to be inside, they did shuffle things around a little bit. And one of the things that got shuffled was the K-2 playground, which is very close to the existing playground. So that I believe is going to open up tomorrow for the school to use. I know the school's pretty excited about this. Both Mr. Swanson and his team and Dr. Willett and the Board of Ed seem pretty excited about this. It does allow for the students to do additional social distancing while at recess, which is a great thing. And the new playground looks really fun, although I'm going to be honest, I haven't gotten a chance to go out and play on it yet, but I maybe soon. So the biggest thing that's opened is the new playground, and as I said, that opens tomorrow. You know, they continue to be moving on track. The building committee is mostly focusing on change orders that have come through. We've had 2 official change orders come through, one of which we put on hold, the other of which we approved. And, you know, we have a process in place for addressing change orders. I have to say that the members of the building committee have been awesome about bringing their various expertise into discussions, asking really informative and very beneficial questions to make sure that this building and any things that are changing or happening with the plans are really meeting the needs of our community. So I am, as always, very grateful to the members of the building committee who work diligently to make sure this project continues to stay on track. The issue about unsuitable soil is still, we're still waiting for action from the legislature. We are anticipating that when the legislature next goes into special session, right now the discussion is probably sometime this month, that the school bonding bill will be on the agenda at that point. I talked to the clerk of the Committee of Cognizance on a monthly basis to make sure that there have been no changes internally on the legislative side. Our owner's rep consultant is in pretty close contact with Costa and his office, the Office of School Construction, and everything's still on track on both sides. So we are keeping up with this issue about unsuitable soil. And from everything we're hearing, when the legislature does come back in, they will act to approve 100% reimbursement for all the unsuitable soil on the site. And at that point, as you know, the committee can move forward with the items that were delayed due to this funding issue. So Right now, we're still on hold, but that's not delaying the project in any way. We continue to move forward, and really the bottom line is this project is currently running on budget and on time, and nobody sees any problems with that trend continuing.
Katie, do you happen to know what's the padding right now? Like, what's the difference between the budget and where we're hitting or where we're heading?
Sure. Well, we had Lisa come to one of our recent meetings to give us an overview of the budget from the town side. And as Lisa did such a great job of explaining to us, she always does, about town finances, this project is currently on the books for the town for $46 million. And the contracts that we have signed and the items that we're under contract for do come up less than $46 million. The remainder of the funding is in the town contingency, which gets spent basically at the discretion of the building committee. These are funds that we can use for things that might come up. There is a construction contingency, which is part of the contract with the motto, and that's $430,000. Our first change order took money out of that construction contingency to the order of, I'm sorry, I don't know the exact amount, $2,300 maybe. So the construction contingency is still above $420,000. And D'Amato feels very strongly that that amount will be more than enough for what they need for contingency items that might come up during construction. In addition, the town contingency is above $100,000. Once all the last little shuffling of things happens, it's about $108,000. So both of those are funding sources or funding points in this project that give us a little bit of breathing room. I don't know if that answered your question, Tammy.
Yep. Yes, it does. That's perfect. Thank you. Does anybody have any questions for Katie, Brenda?
Yes, thank you, Katie, and thank you to your whole team for everything you've done. I knew we would hear again that everything was running on time and under budget, because I know the level of commitment and detail-oriented you are, so we appreciate that. Can you speak a little bit about the amenities to the school, like what the gym might be like, what the cafeteria might be like, what the rooms might look a little bit like? Now that we just started school and the kids are, at Birch Grove, I had some people looking for some comparisons, and so a few other people asking about, what does the community get from this school? We have other groups that use our schools, so they want to know what, they're sitting there like, when can we get in there? When can we see it? When can we start having events there? So give us little teasers if you can, please.
Sure, absolutely.
The virtual thing is online too, right? That shows all that, shows the rooms and the gyms and everything.
Yeah, thank you, Tammy. That was exactly what I was going to refer to. The architect put together a bunch of slides to give us sort of a picture of what it's going to look like inside the building. The major public spaces, the building was planned for both academic school use as well as for community use, similar to how the old Birch Grove was used. There are a number of the town rec department uses that space, and I know there are a number of groups in town that also have used space in the old Birch Grove, and hopefully they're going to be thrilled with the new space as well. The building was designed for the public spaces to be easily accessible and to be closed off from the academic spaces during non-academic times. So, at nighttime, if the rec department had some recreational activities in the gymnasium, the classroom areas are sort of doored off, the fire doors closed and locked, so nobody can access those spaces. Technically, I'm told that we don't actually have a gymnasium. We have CAFA Gymnatorium, which is quite a mouthful. But what it means is that we have one big space in this building that is a combination auditorium, gymnasium, and cafeteria. And there are movable walls between those three areas. So during academic times, all three spaces can be used simultaneously. The students can be eating, and a different group of students can be using the physical education gymnasium space, and then a different group of students can be using the music space, all of them kind of closed off from each other. But Dr. Willett spoke about how, he envisions that this space, this gymno cafetorium, might be used academically as one whole space, as well as for the community. And so that space is all sort of right when you enter the building, with public bathrooms, in that space as well. And then there are what's really 4 wings that come off the main building, and they're sort of divided by academics. The one wing has the pre-K FRC space. Then there's a kindergarten wing, first grade wing, and a second grade wing. These wings are designed and will be built for bubble classes in mind, so that when Tolland does have class sizes that are substantially bigger than a class size before or after it, like if you have a really large first grade class, they can adjust the space usage accordingly, so that we can really get everybody in the building that we need to get in the building, and it can be utilized appropriately for these lower elementary grades. So the classrooms are all pretty much the same size. They're just under about 1,000 square feet. As you can imagine, most of the classrooms are set up and function pretty similarly, as required by code. We have bathrooms in the pre-K and kindergarten rooms. The first and second graders are big enough to use a hallway bathroom with multiple students in it. But there's an art room, there's a science room, there's music space, there's a media center, which is the library and computer lab space. And there's a lot of flexible space as well for the students and the community to be able to use this building when it's done, for a variety of different purposes. So I think it's going to be really exciting next August when we can open this building and everyone can start using it again. And I know certainly the Mr. Swanson and his team are all really excited to get in. Mr. Swanson says it's a little bit of a tease sometimes, because he can see the building going up outside his window, or when he goes outside for bus duty. And it's not quite ready yet, but next August 23rd is the date, 2021. And we are on track to have substantial completion by that date.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that update.
Thank you, Katie. Anybody else have any questions for Katie? No. Well, thank you for joining, Katie. And if you could please just keep us informed when they go into special session, and if they hear if we hear anything on that the bonding bill that may change the expectations. I'm hoping that we should be good there, but
me too.
I haven't heard a definite date that they're going into session yet. So
me neither.
Yeah. All right. Perfect. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Do we have any other? Brenda, do you have anything?
I have had no meetings for once. You're not going to hear one update from me at all.
Wow.
I know.
Wow.
It's because planning and zoning, the offset, the first of the month was on a Tuesday. So.
Yep. All right. Then that gets us to boards and reports of town council liaison. Brenda doesn't have any, so that goes to Cassandra.
Sorry, I don't have any reports. PCC didn't meet on Thursday. They met tonight at 7, so.
Okay, thank you. Stephen here. John?
Nothing to report for me tonight.
Lou, are you still on?
Yeah, I'm still on. Katie covered all my issues. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Making it an easy one tonight. Kurt?
I also have nothing to report.
I'm not the only one who had to go to meetings. I had EDC, which was a very good meeting. We talked some more about this really cool idea that we're kicking around that Adam Grossman brought up regarding Tolland currency, kind of mimicking the Berkshire Bucks plans that you can see in other states where I guess Adam spoke to about a dozen businesses in town who would be interested in participating in something like that, and 2 banks who would also be interested. And he's doing more research to see how something like this could be floated in the town. And the purpose of it is to kind of look at, you can spend $10 and get 11, what would be Tolland bucks to spend at the participating Tolland stores, keeping money local and supporting small business. We also talked about a couple other things about advanced CT and getting somebody in to talk to us about the Site Finder page. And we also talked about PCC, how they're going to be doing the Scarecrow contest this year, but we're going to have to delay the rest of the Harvest Fest that we were going to try to be putting together, which would include trick-or-treating and food trucks and that, till probably next year when we're hopefully out of the whole COVID debacle that it is. And then I had a Board of Education meeting, and the Board of Education meeting, I'm sorry, they passed a civility policy. Today is the first day of school. This whole week is the whole first days of school are half days. Next week starts the full regularly scheduled programming. And the first evaluation period is September 28th, and they will review where the district will be for the next evaluation period, whether it will change the type of plan that they're going to be using for school. So I hope everybody had a wonderful first day of school, and all any bus problems or anything like that, they all kind of, the kinks got worked out. But that's all that I had for meetings, which gets us to 8-1. Which is, or 8.1, which is consideration of a resolution to approve the revised personnel policies and procedures. Mike.
Hi, good evening, Mike. Yep, Mike Rosen, Town Manager. I'm joined by Mike Wilkinson, who's the Director of Administrative Services for the town. In the town charter, there's a provision in there that the town council keep current and updated the personnel policies and procedures for the staff. And it also applies to some other positions as well, like in the sense of there are provisions of it that apply to like the volunteers and things like that. So the personnel policies, there's not a lot of changes. I think Mike's going to walk us through them a little bit. If you could, Mike, we feel like it was the right time to update them.
Yeah, as Town Manager Rosen mentioned, we periodically bring to the council changes to the personnel rules that affect the non-union unaffiliated employees. Most of the changes now are driven by changes in law. We've changed the sick leave sections to be in compliance with state law in sick leave that was passed about 6 years ago. Also, we've updated certain sections on pregnancy disability leave and workplace accommodations. So those are all recommended by our labor attorney, Pat McHale. So we put those in there to kind of update those laws at the federal level and the state level so that we can come into compliance. So that's a basic summary of what we're mainly doing in this iteration.
So Mike, these are all like law driven, because one of the couple of things that I noticed is we went from 3 days at 27 hours to 40 hours for sick leave, which is a benefit enhancement. And then I was wondering what the driver is from going from having to use a half a vacation day and sick time to being able to use it hourly. And then my last question there was under sick leave, there was a sentence saying how do we have 35 hours? How do 35 hours equate to 7 hours a day when we only work 4 days a week? That seemed contradictory to the actual amount of days that we work. So I wasn't sure how that.
Well, Well, again, all the things you just mentioned apply to the law. So the state law allows for 40 hours of sick leave for family sick leave. So that's why it's 40 hours.
Okay.
Same thing with the hourly. That's also in the law. And again, we also, for many of our employees, we actually do it hourly because it's on the 4-day work week. We have to do it hourly. So that's really the only way we can calculate it, but that is in the law anyways for sick leave. So most of those are just related to how the law is written. And we've made the similar changes to our union contracts as we've passed them so that they're in compliance with the sick leave law at the state level. So this just follows, we still have one to do, the fire contract, but the other ones have been changed already.
So the law is dictating the benefit enhancement is what you're saying?
Correct. Yes, correct.
Anybody have any questions for Mike on this? Brenda?
Yes, Brenda Flussi. So I had a couple gender-related items. We use he, she in a few places that I think should be replaced with they or them. And the bereavement policy, and I couldn't find out where it was, but under the bereavement policy, we also have brother-in-law and sister-in-law. And maybe we can do sibling of spouse instead of brother-in-law and sister-in-law, because again, of the gender identities. I don't know where else those were. Those were my quick looks. Again, I lost where the he, she was. But I think those are appropriate because of other changes elsewhere in state law about gender.
Okay, anybody else have anything in relation to this? Oop, something happened with my computer. Hold on. Oh, I know what it is. So, Mike, I don't know what the laws say on that. Do we have to match what's in the state law?
Relating to what Brenda brought up, or?
Yes.
I don't know. My recommendation is that we approve what's there tonight, and I can address that with the labor attorney. And if we need to make any of those changes, we could bring them back. We could bring it back at any time. That's certainly not a problem. You know, we haven't brought. We can bring it back again if those need to be changed. I'd rather have them look at the whole document opposed to just what you saw. Also, you're not seeing every page, so that might be a better way to look at it.
Okay, I'm good with that. Does anybody else have anything? All right, I don't see anybody raising their hand, so I am looking for the resolution. Mike, do you know what page it's on? I'm going. Oh, there it is. The resolution is on page 38.
Yep.
So I will accept a motion that the town council approves the attached revision to the Town of Tolland personnel policies and procedures. Somebody would like to make that?
This is Lulu, but I'll make that motion.
Okay.
Just Cassandra, I'll second it. Cassandra Forsyth.
Okay, any discussion? All those in favor? Aye, and opposed, nay, abstain. Brenda?
Aye.
Cassandra?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Lou?
Aye.
Kurt?
Aye.
I have an aye, so that passes unanimously. I just lost my.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mike. 8-2, appointment of town council liaison to Commission on People with Disabilities.
Yep, that's self-explanatory.
Yep, that's a self-explanatory one. So in this case, I reached out to everybody to see who had interest in it and who did not, and who thought they could take this one on with their calendars and stuff. And I would like to say that I am going to be the liaison to the council, to the Commission on People with Disabilities. Unless anybody else decides that they want to take part in it, at which time we will discuss that. So the liaison is me going forward. Then that gets us to 8.
We do need a motion. For
That's
that,
right. Sorry, we do need a motion. We do? That's right. We do have to approve it, huh?
I'm sorry, I might be wrong about that. My mistake.
Yeah, I don't think we need a motion to approve liaison, do we?
Well, in the packet, it does say council action desired, motion to appoint council liaison. It does say it. I believe the council agreed earlier on about liaison assignments. It might just be worthwhile to just do a quick motion on this.
All right, so I'll accept a motion to appoint me, Tammy Nuccio, as the liaison to the Commission on People with Disabilities.
Sure, Senator, I'll make that motion.
I'll second that motion.
Sorry.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Brenda?
You got a name?
Brenda?
Oh, aye.
Sorry. Cassandra?
Aye.
John? John? Oh, okay. He said aye. I don't know if anybody can see that, but Lou?
Aye.
Kurt?
Aye.
I am an aye on that also, so it passes unanimously. Thank you. That gets us to 8.3, appointment to vacancies on various municipal boards and commissions. Steve usually handles this, but he is on vacation. So it looks like we have an appointment to the Tolland Water Commission of Daniel Tortolet of 26 Shanty Place for a term from 9/8/2020 to 1/31/2021. I will accept a motion to approve.
This is Brenda Felucci, so moved.
Kurt Senator, I'll second.
Any discussion?
Just
All those
thank
in
you for
favor?
volunteering.
Pardon me?
Just thank you for volunteering to Daniel. And if anybody else takes a look at our packet, there's all the other openings listed. Please join Daniel in your volunteerism. We appreciate it.
Hey, thank you very much. Everything she said. All those in favor? Brenda? Oh, sorry, you're drinking.
It's okay. I lose my voice.
Cassandra?
Yep. Aye. Sorry.
John?
Aye.
Kurt?
Aye.
Lou?
Aye.
I am an aye. So that passes. That gets us now to 9, which is old business, where we are going to go back to our public hearing item of 6.2. Lisa, what do you got for us?
Okay, I was able to get a hold of our bond counsel. And what he recommends, because we went back to our old original bonding resolution and looked at the language there. So we we researched everything. And what is going to happen is you will need to vote down this resolution tonight. Do not approve it. So once you do that, then we can get new language written for a new resolution that will allow you to use cash and bonds. It'll amend the original bonding resolution, but not rescind it. It has to be a totally different type, and you really can't do that tonight because you have to set another public hearing, because what the public hearing is listening to tonight was to rescind it and use all cash. And it's changed, and he feels that you cannot change it because what they were looking for a public hearing isn't the same.
Yep.
So he would prefer doing a whole new public hearing. Once I know for sure, if you give me the guidance tonight, if you want to use 400,000 or if you want to use a combination of cash and well, I guess I would rather have a specific amount from the town council to say you can use up to 400,000 in cash and up to 350 in bonding. If the truck comes in less than 750, then, obviously we'd probably use more cash and less bonds. I'm not sure what you would want to do, but I assume if you want to use up to 400,000, I can have him write the resolution. Normally, because it's so legal and it is involved with bonding, he really is the one who has to write that resolution. There's a lot that has to be filed with the IRS and everything else.
Okay. So in that case, I think, Mike, should we do a straw poll for the 400,000 to get council guidance on that number? And should we do that after we rescind the, or vote down? We're going to pull it up and then we're going to vote it down. And then we can do a straw poll. Should we do the straw poll in the discussion?
I would think that you would want to rescind you want to vote down what's in the packet tonight because you're saying you want to go a different avenue than what's in the packet. So I would vote that down and then perhaps do the straw poll so Lisa has her guidance.
Okay. Lou, your hand's raised?
Kurt's raised it.
Sorry, I was trying to figure out mute, unmute here. Yes, Madam Chair, just a quick question though. So if we decide, just so I'm clear on what we're voting for. So if we vote down this proposal today, can we still move forward? Can Chief Lytle still move forward with these range of the specifications and putting things out to order? Can we still do that? Or if by voting it down tonight, and basically moving forward with this new proposal, would that delay the issue further? Because if it's going to delay the issue further, then I'm of a different mindset. So
no,
I can answer that.
It will not, because the original resolution still has the bonding in place. All we're doing is modifying the original resolution. So John still has the same authority that goes back to July of 2019 to go ahead and order the truck. This just comes down to us modifying the payment method. So he should be good to go forward, correct, Mike?
Yes, I believe so. And right, what we're voting down is the full usage of cash. That's right. The bonds are staying intact to date.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Mr. Rosen.
You're very welcome. Kurt?
Yeah, my question was along the same line. Would this be this new resolution be put onto the next town council meeting in 2 weeks? Or okay.
Yeah, and we'd have to do another public hearing. It sounds like too, just with the modified.
So that would be done within the 2 weeks for next meeting. Is what I'm trying to
No, it'll be a month because we have to notice it. So we would have to set the public hearing in the next meeting, and then have the public hearing, the meeting after that, and approve that then. So we'd be looking at a month before we actually have a corrected resolution.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Yeah. Anybody else? All right, then what we're going to do here, we are going to move the motion. If I can get back to the page. So the motion, I will accept a motion for consideration of a resolution to rescind the issuance of bonds approved by resolution on July 9th, 2019 for a fire rescue truck, and approval to provide $750,000 from the general fund, unassigned fund balance for the financing of the fire rescue truck.
So moved.
And do we have a second?
I second. Alexander Forsyth, second.
Okay, any discussion?
Just as a reminder, you do, if you're going to go down the road that we just talked about, you do not want this motion to pass.
Correct. All those in favor, aye. All those against, nay. And abstain if you want to abstain. Brenda?
No.
Cassandra?
No.
John?
No.
Lou?
No.
Kurt?
No.
I'm a no, so this does not pass. Mike, we'll get it back on the agenda for the new resolution and to set a hearing. But before we do that, we should discuss what do we want the new resolution to be? I'm going to start the straw poll or the conversation off at what we just discussed, which would be a $400,000 cash payment and $350,000 up to $350,000 in bond, up to $350,000 in bond. Correct, Lisa? Okay. So we are going to do a straw poll on that. If you are in favor, yes. If you are opposed, no, or abstain. Brenda?
Sorry, Madam Chair, can you say that again?
Yep, we are doing a straw poll for giving Lisa guidance. That would be using $400,000 in cash payment and up to $350,000 in bonding.
Do we need to say something about rescinding the $750,000 bonding that's considered now? And then, do you know what I'm saying? Because right now,
yeah. In the actual public hearing, we will. What we're doing right now is giving Lisa guidance to, well, we won't rescind.
We're not going to rescind it.
Right. We're not going to rescind the 750. We're giving her guidance of what number cash, and then she'll work out the wording of the actual resolution with the bonding council.
I just wanted to make sure we had all our bases covered.
Yeah.
As usual, but I think everybody knows how I stand on this. I want to do 100% bonding on this because of the uncertainty in the future. So
you're a no.
I'm a no.
Okay. Cassandra?
Yes, right, we're giving her guidance.
Yes.
So, yes, I am in favor.
John?
Aye.
Lou?
Aye.
Kurt?
I'm an aye.
And I am an aye also. So that straw poll is 5 in favor of 400,000 cash and Lisa, and up to 350,000 in a bond, and 1 against. So if you could work with bond counsel to come up with a new resolution for us, Mike, we can get that back on the agenda to set the next public hearing.
Correct. So it will take 2 meetings,
Yes.
but yes, we will do it.
Yep.
Yep, we will get it moving. I'll actually do the email now to him. I told him I would get back to him and he'll work on it. We'll get it.
And meanwhile, John, who's I know still on the call, thank you for staying on. You still continue to have the ability to do what you need to do to meet and have meetings and talk about manufacturers and specs and everything like that.
Okay. And Lisa and Mike, I'd like to thank you guys. This is the good work that we get to do when you guys have information for us. We have an idea, you come back, and we have this, now that you gave us this full out plan, Lisa, that had all these extra years and assumptions in it, which gets us back to one of our goals of having a 5-year rolling, looking at everything. This is very beneficial and helps us make a much better decision based on, a strong set of assumptions that we know are assumptions. I appreciate the work that went into this, and you helping guide us through this decision. I appreciate it. That gets us to 10, report of the town manager.
Hi, good evening, everybody. Mike Rosen, town manager. I just have a couple of staffing updates that's in the packet. There is a written report in the packet tonight. We do have another retirement to mention in the assessors department today. Debbie Grondin is retiring in November. She's been with the town for 35 years, and like it says in the packet, we wish her well. So that position, we are going to be advertising and trying to recruit for that role for assessment technician. Mike and I, along with Barbara, held second interviews for the children's librarian position. I don't know if Mike's still on the call, but I believe we were at the point where we were ready to offer the position to one of the 2 candidates. So very excited to get that position staffed back up. The next one would be the reference librarian, which has been vacant for quite some time. Also, as everybody knows at this point, Heidi Smoker has left the town as of last Thursday as the Director of Planning and Development. As I mentioned at the last meeting, we have an interim planner named Brian Miller, who is going to be participating in the Planning and Zoning Commission meetings, and also comes from about 40 years of experience between various towns. So a very able interim director until we can find a full-time director. So those are the staffing updates I have. I did, Madam Chair, it's a little bit unusual, but I did have some thoughts I wanted to share about something that's kind of going on around town. So sort of in lieu of a formal manager's update, I wanted to be able to just kind of read something. Is that all right with you?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so this I wanted to kind of address something that I've kind of been heard about and kind of include into. So I'm just going to share this. I did put a little something together. So back on Tuesday, August 25th at 6:30 a.m., I simultaneously sent an email to the chairpersons of the Democrat and Republican parties in town. I'm going to read it into the record just because I think it's out there anyway. So at that time I wrote, "Good morning. I was asked to forward a request to the chairs of the two political parties in town in hopes the memberships will voluntarily comply. I am honoring the request and relaying the message, which is to encourage the elected officials in town to be careful with posting misinformation or untrue statements on social media." And this is a quote. "While elected officials are ultimately accountable to the residents of Tolland for their actions, free speech doesn't necessarily cover untrue information," end quote. And I ended with a thank you. So this email, I want to kind of just set the record straight. This email stems from a conversation I had that Monday night, August 24th, with a person who believed that there was intentionally untrue information posted by an elected official on one of the non-town sponsored social media pages that affected this particular person. First of all, as is my job, I heard the person out. I recognized, like I said, my job is to recognize and respectfully listen to what people have to say and attempt to help out where I can and where it's permissible to do so. However, I informed the person that the town manager role in Tolland doesn't control or police the social media of elected officials of the town. Instead, what I agreed to do was pass along the person's message and quote in a general fashion to the two chairs to remind their members to be careful and accurate about what they post. So in my message, I didn't use names nor specifics, and I didn't offer my personal opinion on the matter. In the past, others have asked me or members of my office staff to pass along messages, whether it be to the town council or otherwise, and we did so in the spirit of customer service. So what I've since heard is that my email, the one I referenced earlier, was read into the record at a Board of Education meeting. And while the underlying message is the same as I would tell my staff, which basically is don't post mistrue information and things like that, I want to reiterate that I can't get involved with the politics of the town. Not only does my profession forbid it, but I can't be effective in my job if I'm pitted against one side or the other. So my email was a bipartisan attempt to neutrally pass along a message. I've reconsidered this action and I've learned from it. Most of our officials' email addresses are public information, and if they aren't, we can put you in touch with them directly if you'd like to speak with them. The staff has to stay out of the politics and from being unintentional arbiters of what is true and what isn't. Ultimately, people engage on social media at their own risk and discretion. The town manager's responsibility over social media covers those that report to the manager, not to those whom I report to. So I am thus not going to be forwarding along messages like this in the future. I just wanted to put that out there and, open to hearing your thoughts, but I just wanted to set the record straight. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. I appreciate that. That gets us to adoption of minutes. I will accept a motion to adopt the minutes of August 25th, 2020 remote special meeting, August 25th remote regular meeting, September 1st remote special meeting minutes, all together, once and done.
This is Kurt Schenner. I'll make that motion.
Cassandra Forsyth, I'll second it.
Okay, any discussion or changes? All right, all those in favor? Brenda?
Aye.
Cassandra?
Aye.
Don?
Aye.
Lou?
Aye.
Kurt?
Aye.
I am an aye. Those pass. Thank you, Lisa. Correspondence to council.
Yes, I won't reiterate what we covered before. But we did receive 2 other emails. One was a beautifully handwritten note from a resident who was thanking the town and the staff and the businesses for their support during this time. And another one was from Mr. Rick Fields letting us know that he's going to be stepping down from a couple volunteer positions. I'd like to take the opportunity to really thank Mr. Field for his decades of service to our town. His volunteerism has been exemplary. We appreciate everything that he's given, and we wish him well.
Thank you. I agree. Rick's a great guy. He's been very involved with the town. And even though he's not going to be on these 2 commissions, he will still stay very involved. I know that the format in which we're meeting in that is just not conducive to him, but I'm sure when things get back to in person and that he may reconsider that. Rick can't stay still for too long. So then that gets to 13, chairperson's report. Okay, I don't have a whole lot today. I'm very happy to see that the rec department has offerings and that the community newsletter should be going out this week. I encourage everybody to look through it and look at what the rec department is doing. They have held 3 in-person programs in August that were a great success, including wiffle ball, tennis, and baseball. All of those were held outdoor and they were very successful programs. And they're also doing in-person yoga at Crandall Park, which is a great offering if people are out there and want to do yoga. And this week they are holding virtual Celebrate Tolland. You can attend a discounted yoga session on September 13th as part of Celebrate Tolland. And you can go to the rec website to see all of the vendors from the event. And Mike, from reading the town manager's report, it looked like the absentee ballot process kind of wreaked havoc on the town clerk's office.
Well, I wouldn't say that, but I mean, they rose to the occasion. They rose to the occasion.
Well, that's what I was getting to. All right. They were grace under pressure in getting everything accomplished despite the mishaps from the state in that. But there were a lot of mishaps that they had to kind of handle. I know that they're going to be hiring 2 people, 2 upcoming clerks for the November election, which is going to be a lot higher volume. So I was wondering if you could maybe give us a quick update on when they were going to be starting and what that process was going to be. But first and foremost, I really wanted Sheila went out of her way to thank Kathy and her update in the town manager's report, but I'd like you to please relay also to Sheila and Kathy both that the work is very appreciated. And I'm hoping that adding 2 more people might smooth out the process as it was.
Yeah, I will definitely pass along that message of thanks, and I also want to echo it. They really did a great job to rise to the occasion, like we talked about. The temporary help that they're looking for is going to, I believe interviews are being held next Monday on the 14th, and then for a start date of the 21st. Mike Wilkinson, do correct me if I'm wrong on that, but I believe that was the timetable. But ideally, we want to get help as soon as possible. The 21st would probably be the most feasible start date for the 2 temporary helpers. But yes, the clerk's office was put in a position where they needed to very quickly file and analyze a great deal of information, and they worked around the clock. I'm not even exaggerating. Lisa can tell you her staff worked a lot of hours and they did a great job.
Yeah. Do we think adding these people are going to help so it's a little smoother? Do they expect the same sort of havoc from that they had with the primary to echo over into November, or was there enough feedback back to the state on what they need to fix so they're not doing this to towns?
I don't know the direct answer to that question. I'm not sure. Lisa, did Sheila talk to you about that at all?
She certainly is concerned of a lot of issues happening in such a short period of time, especially with making sure the absentee ballots get out. She's expecting some stress. That's about all I can say at this point.
Do we know that maybe at some point it would be useful to have Sheila kind of, if she has 10 minutes, and I would literally try to keep it to like 10 minutes because I know she's got a lot coming down the pike, to kind of go over an overview of how this is going to work for them I know they're going to be sending out the ballots. They'll be getting them back in. They send them out on that Friday, the 3rd. So potentially they can be getting ballots back in starting on October 5th and then going forward any point at that point. But I'm not sure how, do they have to turn them all around election night? Do they just sit there and log them and then wait to see who actually shows up to vote? Wondering if maybe we can kind of get a high level of what they can be expected to have to do in their area. It was disconcerting reading all the stuff in the town manager's report that they had to do. So I just want to see if there's any way we can help facilitate to smooth that process for them.
I mean, I certainly can ask her if she wouldn't mind joining us on a council meeting to give an update. She can have some time, perhaps part of the manager's report, but if you want to move that to the beginning of the agenda for that meeting and just have her go and then leave, we could do that, something like that.
Or we could just have her maybe write something up if, just because I know she is just straight out.
Right.
With the hours she's putting in. So if I don't have to have her at a meeting, I prefer not to.
Yeah.
But certainly if
she can write something up, Lisa, I just want to make sure that we're being as responsive as we can to make sure that she has what she needs so they're not in that same situation again. And it's going to be a much bigger volume with November than what they saw in August. So
okay.
I just want to
Mike,
make sure.
are you going to reach out to her tomorrow? Or
I think she's on vacation, right? Isn't she?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So next
let's
week.
Let's wait till next week.
Yeah, don't reach out to her when she's on vacation.
No. Okay.
Okay. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
That gets us to 14, communications and petitions from council persons. Do we have any communications or petitions tonight? Brenda?
Hi, Brenda Felucci. A couple of things I'm voting, but first, I received a lot of text and calls from.
Lou, can you mute your phone, please? Or actually, I'll mute you. Go ahead, Brenda.
Okay. There was a little bit of concern that there was a construction going on Old Cat Hole Road during the first day of school when the traffic patterns and drop-off times had been changed quite a bit. So, they mentioned maybe going forward, since it was only half days, maybe they didn't need 3 lane closures on Old Cat Hole during the time of the first day of school. It's something to think about logistically as we move forward. Now for the voting information, I had mentioned before that some people were concerned that they couldn't get to the ballot box from their car. Those who have mobility issues from leaving their car and having to walk across the sidewalk to get to the ballot box. A number of other towns had moved the ballot box close to the side of the road or to the parking lot so that somebody who has mobility issues would be able to reach the ballot box. If that's something we can't do, is there a way for somebody to call to have the town clerk or a registrar of voters come out and take their application or take their ballot from the car and put it in the box for them? I don't know what the chain of command is for each of those, but I know that at least for the ballot, there's only specific people that can handle it. But, we're potentially looking at 5,500 people voting absentee. And I'll tell you why I have that number in a minute. So, again, we're trying to make things a little bit easier for those with disabilities. And the last thing is we are getting, I believe, a grant from the state of Connecticut for voter, to help with this voting process. In the town of Tolland, we have 10,430 registered voters. We're expecting 80% of them to vote. So to take a look at how much we get for our grants, they take 2/3 of that 8344 and assume that they're going to be absentee ballot, which is 5,507. And we get $1 for each absentee ballot. In person, that means we're expecting 2,837 people to vote in person. And that gives us a grant for the state polls grant of 3,000. So when you add that 3,000 to the 5,507, you get 8,507. Going to, what Tammy was talking about, is this going to be enough to help cover the expenses of the, 2 part-timers, poll workers, et cetera? I mean, this doesn't seem like it's going to put much of a dent into what we have. So what kind of plans are we going to do to cover the additional expenses for voting?
Okay. Mike, I don't know if you're prepared to answer any of that. If you need to think about that, get back to me.
Well, I'm
Yeah,
out today, so.
I can tell you. Oops, sorry. The only thing I can tell you, Brenda, is that I know Sheila had mentioned to me, this was maybe 2-3 weeks ago, that there was going to be some sort of an offset from the state. She wasn't sure at that time if it was going to be a flat payment or if it was going to be population or voter based, which it sounds like it's moving down that road instead. The hope at the time, she had to move forward. The hope at the time was that the grant would cover it. I guess at the end of the day, if there's still expenses above and beyond the grant we received, Lisa and I will have to look at the salary account to figure out how to fund it.
Thank you. And are you going to look into the helping the residents with handicaps get a little bit more accessibility to the ballot box?
For that one, I know that there was discussion about kind of second box be installed where the trooper's office entrance is, since it's not uphill and it's also near a few of the disabled parking spots. And so that's something that I think Sheila was tracking down. The problem is that box was also not going to be able to be drive-through because it would have to, depending on which way you're coming up or down the hill, there was going to be an issue with like having, maybe Lisa, do you do more about this? But there was going to be an issue with actually delivering the ballot to the box from your car. She did mention that to me though, but perhaps having a second box might be a little bit easier, especially if it's a little bit closer to the spaces. I don't know of a way that we can we looked at this the first time around too.
Yeah.
I don't know that there's a way that we can look at doing a drive-through. Whereas if we talked about doing somebody coming out to pick up, assuming people called the right office or something, we'd have to figure out, obviously Sheila reports to Lisa, but Mike and Len, they work, the registrars, they don't report, but we could talk to them and see how feasible that is. I'm not sure if that would put, an added pressure to have to stop what they're doing, go out and pick up the ballots. So I will look into that. Yes. And Lisa I think she wanted to say something.
From my understanding, unless you know different, we really didn't have anyone complaining to us about not being able to access that box. There are 2 handicap spots there, which we made sure were free so that people handicapped could park there or, drive up to the box in that location. We really couldn't move the box.
Okay. I didn't think so. And I don't know if these people participated in the primary or not, who, expressed to me. So we might not have received, any feedback about the primary, but, we have all the unaffiliated independents and other parties, voting this time around. So there'll be quite a few more. And some, we're just trying to make it as accessible as possible and as safe as possible. So thank you for looking into it.
And that makes sense. And also I believe the original location, as well as the new location, were also under video surveillance to make sure there was no tampering. So that was part of it too, is where you could locate a camera to look at the box to make sure no one's doing anything to it, or, so that's part of it too.
Thank you. Lou?
Also, the $2,800 came in today, by the way, just so you know.
The $2,800?
That's, yeah.
That's the amount.
Well, that's the initial amount. We may possibly get more, as Brenda stated, but $2,800 did come in today for the registrar's and town clerk's office to determine how we're going to split that up.
Good. That's something, every little bit counts. Thank you, Lisa. Lou?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to take this second just to apologize to the town council and to the people that are participating today for not being there more visibly virtually as part of this whole process today. As some of the town council members know, as well as Mr. Rosen know, that I'm on my way to Ithaca to attend the funeral of my best friend and college roommate, Kevin Talty. The reason why I mention him and why I'm recognizing him as part of my part today is because even though Kevin was not a resident of Tolland, that he did have an impact on it, and that he was the person who he was a dear friend and mentor, but one of the driving forces in getting me to one, go to law school, to become an attorney, but moreover, secondly, that he was the one that convinced me to get involved in local governance and politics. That he was significantly involved in Ithaca and Central New York, and he instilled in the belief with me that the best way to make a change within your community is not on a state or local, state or federal level, but to start locally, because that's where you can most directly help your family, help your friends, help your community. And I just want to take this moment to recognize him and all that he has done without knowing to help shape Tolland by helping me get involved. So thank you for that moment, Madam Chair. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Lou. And we're sorry, like I've said to you, sorry for your loss. I wish you luck on your journey up to Ithaca and be thinking of you. Thank you for taking the time to join tonight. You didn't have to, but I'm happy that you did. If we have no other petitions from council persons, we'll move to public participation on any subject within the jurisdiction of the town council with a 3-minute limit. If you'd like to speak, please raise your hand on your device, or if you're on the phone, it is *9. And when I call on you, you need to state your name and address for the public record. Deb.
Deb Getz, 176 Kate Lane, speaking as a private resident, not in my elected official position. I want to thank you all for your thorough discussion, your very thorough discussion tonight. This was exactly what was promised to us a year ago when the bonding was approved, that later you would look at it and see what the best course would be, depending on what resources you had available. Splitting it makes the most sense right now. You don't want to be cash poor. You don't want to go below that 10%, but you don't need to bond for the full amount if you do have some money available. So I thank you for your thorough discussion and for considering alternatives. I do hope that the discussion of the fund balance tonight will show everyone who's been listening the necessity of maintaining a healthy balance there. And that when budget season comes up again, every year we go through this about, oh, well, we have so much money in that fund, we can pay more. We can increase the budgets more. We heard tonight that probably won't be a good idea. So I thank you for Lisa, Ms. Hancock, you did a fantastic job explaining, and I appreciate that. Thank you very much, everyone. Good night.
Thank you, Deb. Okay, not seeing anything else. I will accept a motion to adjourn.
It's Curtis Schneider. I'll make that motion.
Brenda Falusi, I second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Brenda?
Aye.
Cassandra?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Lou?
Aye.
Kurt?
Aye.
And I. That is unanimous. Thank you, everybody. Have a good night. See you in 2 weeks.